Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks today. We're talking today's NBA betting slate, Monday, February 3rd. The splash zone is back in your life. I'm going to have 5 NBA player prop picks for you guys to lock in for today, 4 of which, of course, are plus money bangers because that is how we do things here. Real quick, before we get into today's picks, just want to kind of give you guys a recap. Now, I didn't have a video yesterday. I still did send out plays to my Dub Club and to Twitter. So the recap includes obviously yesterday and Saturday as well, which is the last time you saw me have an actual video. And the season's okay, up over 21 units. We had an awesome run in January. It's kind of been hit or miss towards the end of January, then the beginning of February as well. Obviously, only 2 days into the month, so obviously it's only been a couple days. But hopefully, we can get ourselves a nice sustained success. I should say next week, starting on Wednesday of next week, I'm going to be out for about 10 days because I'm going to Hawaii. That does coincide with the NBA All-Star break, so I'm going to be out for 10 days, but about a week of that, there won't even be any NBA games. So really, we're only missing a couple days here. Just want to give you guys a heads up on that. But that is enough of that. Let's get into today's bangers. I just would appreciate it if you could like the video, comment, and subscribe. What I have up on the screen here is Props Madness, which is my favorite NBA betting tool. If you're interested in at least checking them out, I put a link in the description of the video as well as the pinned comment. I think you can get a 7-day free trial. And if you decide to sign up, it would help me out a ton if you used promo code MODI, my last name. You get 25% off if you use the code. But enough of that. Let's start talking bangers for real this time. I do have a play in this Wizards versus Hornets game. Not Miles Bridges. I looked at him. I get that a lot of people are going to like him, but it's just too hot. It's just too high. The play that I do have is Josh Green, and I actually took him 10 plus points. So every book basically has him mostly at 8.5. You can get a pretty good price on 10 plus. I was able to get 10 plus at plus 145 odds at Bet365. So they gave us an awesome price there. In my opinion, it makes a little more sense to get the better price. So to get him at 9.5 as opposed to 8.5, especially when you're getting, again, plus 145 odds was insane for this play. So I'm really, really happy about that. Now, so we're getting over 9.5. We're getting 10 plus. This is one of the ones where you can't look at the season-long hit rate because the entire season is basically meaningless when you're trying to analyze this one specific game for Josh Green. The reason why? Look at all the guys who are out. LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Trey Mann, Grant Williams, Cody Martin, Josh Okogie. Everybody is basically out for this team. The two important names here are LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Those are the two guys that obviously score the most, 28 and 21 points per game. A couple of these guys also matter, but these are the main two that I want to look at. Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. He has hit this number in 4, so this is 10 plus, not the over 8.5. This is 10 plus. He's hit this number in 4 of 7 games without those two guys in the lineup. And that's including one game in which he scored 9 points, going 1 of 5 from deep and 3 of 8 from the field. You hope that with 8 shot attempts, he'll be able to score 10 points. A couple reasons why I really, really like this play. Number one, you can see the averages here. He averages 35 minutes per game when these guys are out of the lineup and only about 28 minutes per game when those guys are both in the lineup. So he's playing 7 more minutes per game. More minutes equals more time to score. You look at his field goal attempts, FGA, he averages about 7 per game with those guys out of the lineup and about 6 per game with those guys in the lineup. And I get that like one field goal attempt might not be that big of a deal. Well, it's a pretty big deal when you're going from 8, or when you need someone to only score 10 points. Like going from 8 to 10 points, that extra field goal attempt could be a really, really big deal. If we just look at games where he's taken at least 7 field goal attempts, he scored 10 points in 11 of 17 games, averaging about 11 points per game. And twice, he scored exactly 9 points, 3 of 11 in this game and 3 of 8 in this game. So when he's getting up the volume that he's averaging with those guys out of the lineup, again, 11 of 17 games, averaging about 11 points per game. And I haven't even talked about the matchup, which is as good of a matchup as you can possibly ask for. You hover over the Wizards matchup, you see a lot of green on the screen here. Now, technically, the shot zone and the play type for Josh Green isn't the best in the world. They give up the 6 there, so they're basically average in terms of spot up, which is how Josh Green scores the majority of his points. Everything else, they're below average, transition, free throws, off screen. The next 3, they're range from 2nd worst to 9th worst. And then in terms of shot zone, he takes the majority of his shots in the restricted area. And technically, the Wizards are only 18th in terms of guarding the restricted area, but they allow the fourth most points in the paint. So the restricted area, they're okay at guarding, but the paint, they're terrible. But just look across the board. I mean, he takes 42% of his shots from the corners. They're the third worst corner defense on both sides. Another 23% from the above the break three-pointer. They're the ninth worst defense guarding the above the break three-pointer. It's just as good of a matchup as you can possibly ask for. And in terms of defensive rating, literally just how do they like play defense, they're the worst in the NBA, the worst defense in the NBA. So a guy who's going to play 30 minutes, 30 plus minutes, possibly 35, who's going to shoot more, only needing to get to 10 points against this abomination of a Wizards team. I like it. That's play number one. I don't have a play here in Hawks Pistons, but I do have a play in Rockets versus Knicks. So our second play is actually Jaylen Green, and we're taking him to score 25 plus points. Now, this is offered actually plus 105 odds at FanDuel. So as you can see here, Props Madness doesn't pull in odds from FanDuel as of yet, so you still always do need to check FanDuel. You can get 25 plus for plus 105 odds at FanDuel, and that is the bet that we are taking, plus 105. If for whatever reason, by the time you're watching this, that's no longer available, I would still take it at minus 105 at DraftKings. I still think that's completely reasonable to get at minus 105. So, Jaylen Green. Couple things to note here. Number one, the most important thing here, Jabari Smith Jr. is out of the lineup. He's been out for a while now, and Jaylen Green has been awesome with him out of lineup. So he first missed on January 3rd. Since then, Jaylen Green's played 15 games. He has scored 25 or more points in 12 of 50 games, an 80% hit rate. And the books really haven't quite caught on yet. They're still pricing it for either plus money or close to plus money for him to score 25 plus points. So that's awesome. He's averaging 2 more field goal attempts per game, so he's averaging just under 16 per game, or just under 20 per game, as opposed to about 17 and a half. So that's really good. The minutes are about the same. His minutes aren't anything crazy, like 33 on the season, 33.9, so basically gets an extra minute without Jabari Smith Jr. Another thing that I like, not only is Jabari Smith Jr. out, but Fred VanVleet is also out for this game. Now, VanVleet's only missed 3 games, and they were kind of spotty, right? Like he missed literally 1 each month. But Jaylen Green has hit the over, at least in 2 of those 3 games. And the 1 game he missed was just a tough game against the Wizards, 6 of 15 from the field, 1 of 6 from deep. But then he cashed it over with 31 points against the Clippers and 28 points against the Kings. Averaging a couple more minutes per game, about 3 more minutes per game. And then the field goal attempts are also up with Fred VanVleet out. Again, it's a small sample size. Excuse me. All I know is that Jaylen Green is going to put up an insane volume. You look at these games, I mean, his shots, 24, 21, 24, and then a gross game, 13. This was a tough game against the Celtics, just didn't perform well. 13, 16, actually, we would hope for more than 16, but at least he went over. 16 again, gross, 21, and then the rest of them, 17, 20, 16, so a little bit lower, 18, 21, 22, 24, 21. He's hit 20 in the majority of these games without Jaylen Green. And again, I haven't even talked about the matchup, which is very good. He's going up against a Knicks team that is literally the worst defense in the NBA, guarding pick and roll ball handlers, 30 out of 30 in terms of points allowed to pick and roll ball handlers, which is how Jaylen Green scores the majority of his points. In terms of the shot zone, it's pretty evenly distributed where the Knicks are bad, or they're actually, I should say, they're not bad. They're average in basically every category, right? Except for the corners, which Jaylen Green doesn't really shoot much from the corners, but average above the break, average at the rim, average in the paint. They allow, average pretty much across the board. But in terms of the pick and roll, that's where they get beat. That's where Jaylen Green scores the majority of his points. And his pick and roll numbers are even up with all these guys out of the lineup. So the guess here is that he's probably going to put up 20-plus shots, especially without Fred VanVleet and Jaylen Green. And Jabari Smith Jr. I mean, he's only played 1 game without those 2 guys. Put up 20 shots, scored 28 points. It's tough to take a 1-game sample, but the sample we have, he scored 28 points and he put up 20 shots. So either way, Jaylen Green, 25 plus points, I really like. That's our second play. Next up, I have a play here in the Kings Timberwolves, our third bet of the video. And we're going to go with Demar DeRozan, and we're actually taking him on the assists. So this is another one that's going to feel gross. He's missed it in 7 straight games. He's only gone over, if you look at the entire season, 45% or so of the time, he averages exactly what he averages exactly what we're betting, him to go over 3.5. Now, I bet this at minus 105 at FanDuel. Again, Props Madness doesn't have FanDuel odds up. I would still take it. I mean, you can get this -105 at ESPN Bet. Here you go. If for whatever reason FanDuel changed their odds, you can still get it at -105 at ESPN Bet, which I would take. So why are we betting the over against DeMar for DeMar for his assist? No De'Aaron Fox. He's been traded. He's no longer on the Bulls or the Kings, and it's only been 3 games, but he's hit the over in 2 of the 3 games. But the most important number here are the potential assists. 8. He only had 1 of 8, which is terrible. I mean, they won that game by 30, and he still only converted 1 of his 8 potential assists. But then we see 4 of 15 and then like a weird stat number where he had 9 assists on 8 potentials. I'm not really sure what happened here. This is a situation where this shouldn't happen. But regardless, he's averaging 10 potential assists per game. His season average is about 6.8. And at a minimum, he's had 8 in every single game without De'Aaron Fox. So if we just look at games in which he's only had 8 potential assists, which I get, like, this is going to be correlated. The more potentials you have, the more actuals you have. But in all 3 games, he at least had 8 potential assists. Well, he's gone over in 13 of 15 games in which he's had 8 potentials, averaging 5 assists per game. Even if we lower this to 7, it's 15 of 22, averaging 4.7 assists per game. It's still a really, really good hit rate when he's even getting 7 potential assists per game, which is 1 lower than what he averages without De'Aaron Fox. I mean, it makes sense, right? No De'Aaron Fox, guys like DeMar play make a little bit more. And the matchup against the Timberwolves, like, they're a good defense. Now, they're missing a bunch of guys. Like, they're missing Julius Randle. They're missing Dante DiVincenzo, which doesn't really matter for their defense, but they are missing guys. But it's actually not that bad of a matchup if you trust Props Madness, which I do. According to Props Madness, there have been 9 guys with a similar playmaking style to DeMar DeRozan. 6 of those 9, that's a very nice number, have hit their assist prop over, and including 5 straight. I mean, we see like Sexton, Bane did it twice. Jay Will did it against for the Thunder, and then Vassell did it in 1 game and then missed it in the other. So even though they're a tough matchup for assist props, they're actually not for guys like DeMar. And this is just like DeMar's normal playmaking style. Doesn't even include more playmaking with De'Aaron Fox out, with his potential assists potentially, hopefully, going up. So I really like this play for DeMar DeRozan. I was really close to taking 5+ as well, like taking a full unit on over 3.5 and then a half unit on 5+. But I decided to just stick with the 4 because that does kind of seem to be a key number. Like, we see that hit rate on this is 7 or more potential assists, 15 of 22. We go up to 4.5, 10 of 22. So like 5 separate times he landed on exactly 4. Now, if we go up to 8, it's a little bit better. It's 8 of 15. But again, 5 separate times he landed on exactly 4 assists. So that does seem to be somewhat of a key number. Either way, over 3.5 assists, I absolutely love. That's our third play. Next up, I do have a play in the Pacers versus Jazz. And I'm going Walker Kessler, and I'm actually taking him on the double-double. So right now, they don't pull odds for a double-double. You can get this at +150 at Bet365 on Walker Kessler to record a double-double. Really, the matchup is fine. It's not the best matchup in the world. It's definitely not a matchup to be scared of. It's really just a play on the number. Getting Kessler to record a double-double at +150 odds is crazy. And I understand why a little bit. I mean, you look at games like on the entire season, he averages about 11 points per game. He's scored 10 or more in about 60% of the time. He averages, and this is the important thing, about 30 minutes per game. So 29.8, 30 minutes per game. Now, his minutes have been spotty, right? You see at the beginning of the year, 30 minutes down to 20. 30 minutes, 26, 28, then down to 19. So his minutes have been a little bit spotty. They've been up recently. Like, his minutes have really hovered around 30 minutes the last 10 or so games. Now, the reason why we're getting such a good price is because the Jazz finally have their guys back. Larry Markkanen's back. John Collins is back. With both those guys in the lineup, he still averages, about 10 points per game, 9.9. We can round up. He's hit it in half of his games, but it's been better recently. He's only hit it in, 5 of his last 10 games, but the minutes are the same. And that's the most important thing here. He's averaging literally the exact same minutes per game, whether these guys are in or out of the lineup. And the matchup for his points is what is really good. That's what I like, his matchup for the points. As you can see, 6 of 10 guys, similar to Walker Kessler, have hit their point prop over against the Pacers. And it's it's the guys you would think of, right? Jalen Duren did it twice. Nick Claxton missed. Nick Richards missed. Now, he's not even on that team anymore. But Nick Claxton cashed in the game before. Then Jakob Poeltl, Jalen Duren, Jakob Poeltl again. And in this game, Jalen Duren didn't go over his point prop, but he scored double digits. So really, it's 7 of 10. Scoring double digits. And you go down to the play types, it all looks good. Putbacks, ninth worst defense. Now, we don't have any data off of cuts. You can presume that they're at least below average against cuts because you see like guys have success against the Pacers. And obviously these are guys that run a lot of cuts. I can't say that for sure. You can presume. But pick and roll man, 7th worst. Transition, okay, they're average. And then free throws, 9th worst. And then you go to area on the floor. I mean, 86% of Walker Kessler's points come in the restricted area. And what's this? 98% of his points come in the paint. And you hover over the Pacers. They give up the 6th most points in the paint in the entire NBA. And you look at games where Walker Kessler has played teams in the bottom 10 guarding the paint. And this is with Lauri Markkanen and John Collins in the lineup. It's only been 3 games, but he's hit it in all 3. Literally 3 for 3, scoring 10 or more points against teams that are bottom 10 in terms of points in the paint allowed with both of these guys in the lineup. Now, if we just take these guys out and we just say, okay, how does he perform against teams bottom 10 guarding the paint? It's still a 10 out of 10 hit rate, averaging 15 points per game. Literally, he has not played a single game against the team in the bottom 10 in terms of points per game without scoring 10 points. The rebounds, I actually am less scared of because the rebounds are a lot more consistent. Now, these aren't really correlated, but he still hit 10 rebounds in every single game against teams that are bad at guarding the paint. But his rebounds are mostly unaffected with these guys at the lineup. And his rebounds are also a pretty decent matchup. I mean, it's only 5 of 9 against the Pacers, similar to his rebounding style. One of the guys got 10 rebounds, Jakob Poeltl, so he would have been fine with the double-double. And then Allen missed it in back-to-back games against the Pacers, just not Allen's matchup against the Pacers, I guess. But prior to that, I mean, it was 6 straight getting double digits, 5 of 6 going over. And then, yeah, Daniel Gafford missed, but he's weird where he sometimes doesn't play if he splits minutes with Derek Lively, especially back then before the Mavericks. A, Derek Lively got hurt, and B, traded Luka. But his rebounds really aren't impacted that much with both those guys in the lineup. I mean, he's been awesome recently. He's hit 10 or more in 8 of his last 10 games. And you look at his last 10 games with Lauri Markkanen and John Collins, it's 6 of his last 10, averaging 11 rebounds per game. So his average is still good. Everything still looks good for Walker Kessler. And we're getting plus 150 on him to record a double-double, which I think is an awesome price. So that, again, had a lot to do with why I bet it, was because of the price. Walker Kessler double-double. That's our 4th play. And then our last pick of the video, we're heading to the Magic Warriors. And I took Goga Bitadze, and I took him on his rebounds. I took him over 7.5 rebounds. It was, this is the exact bet I took. 7.5 rebounds, plus 115 odds at Bet365. This is the exact bet that I took. It's still available. It's the best offered price. FanDuel is not giving you plus 115. So you can check FanDuel because maybe that changed, but over 7.5 rebounds, plus 115 is the exact bet that I took. Now, the hit rate on the season actually makes it is a little bit misleading. I mean, he's hit 8 rebounds, or he's averaged 8 rebounds per game. He's hit the over 7.5 in about 60% of his games. But you can see the minutes are down, right? So it's a little bit misleading to give you his entire hit rate. When you look at on the season, he averages about 25 minutes per game. You look at the last 10 games, that's down to about 22.5. And he missed some time with a concussion. So you see he missed 2 weeks here. And he's played 22 minutes, but then only 18 and 16. So his minutes are limited. That's the scary part. They've gotten some guys back. They've gotten back Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. So you look at games he's played with those 2 guys. It's only been, 6 games. He's only hit it in 2 of the 6. But 2 of them have been recently, right? He hit it January 27th. He hit it February 1st. And what I like is that even in the limited minutes, so he's averaging 12 minutes, he's going to play more than 12. I can promise you that. He's probably going to play between 16 and 20. What I like is that even in these limited minutes, 9 rebounds on 17 rebound chances, 8 rebounds on 15 rebound chances, and 2 good matchups against the Heat and the Jazz. So in the good matchups against, in the good matchups against teams that allow a lot of rebounds to centers, he can do it in limited minutes, which is exactly what I think is going to happen in this one. So I think he's probably going to play between 16 and 18 minutes if I had to guess. But you look at the matchup. I mean, this is a little bit misleading when you see 2 of 2 with his rebounding style have gone over against the Warriors because it's the same player. It's Mason Plumlee who did it twice, or Miles, whichever one it is. You go by position, things still look good. 10 of the last 15 centers have hit their rebound prop over against the Warriors. And we've looked at the Warriors as a rebound team this entire season, right? 10 of the last 15 by an average of about 1 rebound above what their over-under is priced at. And a couple guys hooked. I mean, Bam, 9 over under 9.5. Gobert, 10 over under 10.5. Porzingis, 7, over under 7.5, and then 2 guys that weren't even close. But the guys that went over, a lot of them smoked it. 16 rebounds, over under 9.5. 18 rebounds, over under 11.5. 18, 14.5. 9 on 7.5. So I think even in limited minutes, Goga could hit this over and get us 8 rebounds. And against the matchup, I really, really like it. So that's our 5th and final pick of the video. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Just a quick recap. It's Demar, over 3.5 assists. Jaylen Green, 25 plus points. Goga Bitadze, over 7.5 rebounds. Josh Green, 10 plus points. And Walker Kessler, double-double. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. Check out the links in the description of the video if you want to support the channel. Everybody bet responsibly and have a good one.